Now, you also had a break from Preston for a few years. Went down to Northcote. I think you played nearly 40 games there, about 38. How did you get to Northcote? Were you was it one of Ronnie Brentnall's recruiting coups, or?
No. It was, I suppose, I'd obviously coming from Premier initially, and never really played a handful of twos games. When I went to Perth, I played second 11 at Subi Floreat. So I'd never really got a run at first 11. Playing against a lot of other ex-first 11 players that you play against in subbies, I just thought that they're not an exceptional level. They're sort of, competing well. And I just hate to get to the end of my career and not have given that a chance. So I said to the club, look, I want to get back to Premier and have another crack at that. And I'd stopped going to England. So I knew that I was able to do a pre-season. And I don't know whether, somebody said something, but Troy Rowe, who had been a player at Kew, and we'd played against each other for a number of years. I must have had a good game against him. Must have bowled pretty well, because he rang me up. He'd just been appointed Northcote coach. Mm-hmm. They had lost their opening bowler in the ones. He'd moved to Canada. So he rang me up and goes, "You interested in coming down?" I just went, "You wouldn't believe it." Yes. So I went down, did the pre-season, still unsure of where I was going to fit into it. They were wanting an opening bowler. And I was thinking, well, I'll do my best. Played a few practice games and managed to be selected in round one in the ones, and played the rest of the time for the following two seasons. Managed to hold my spot. And especially, what I was super proud of was at the end of that first year, we'd have we had Mick Lewis, Ian Harvey, Darren Berry, all coming in and out of the side at various times. So come finals, we'd finish second or something. They were all coming back in. And I just, I'm out. There's no way I'll be able to hold my spot. But, my name got read out and played, that final series with the strongest. So I've made the strongest possible team, and I was able to hold my spot. So I was, really happy about that.
Then you've come back to Preston, and you've played on then for another 8 or 9, maybe 10 years even. Kevin,
yeah, something like that.
Success, yeah. What was looking back on that period when you came back from Northcote? You come back a better player. That's illustrated by your record when you come back. What did you enjoy most about your cricket over that 10 years?
Look, there were various challenges. It was a different time. It was a different era. I think we'd lost a lot of those players that I'd played with in the first few years where we had that really ultimate success. But it was just a changing of the guard, and people like Sean Brown coming in, Chuck Barry. So we had just a new look to the team. So, all of a sudden, I was the older statesman of that era, as opposed to sort of being in my mid-20s when a lot of other guys were older than me. Yeah, look, just the different challenges. I'd opened the batting for a couple of years, which was good. But yeah, I do look at that period and think, missed opportunities. I know one year, there's probably a number of years that we could have easily won the flag, but just what was missing was exactly what proved successful in my first stint, that we were never beaten, and someone would stand up, one of the, the middle order or the lower order, or someone with a ball would come on and take one or two. We just never had that. to win us that 1 or 2 games, So a lot of the times we'd miss out on finals by a game or percentage. And we'd been, a couple of games dominating and then just disintegrated for some reason and lost a game that we should have won easily, or not taken it, So very frustrating times because we had a super team, a lot of good guys that had filtered in, new to the club, Paul Lowry, Jeff Simmons, a couple of Poms that came out. We had some replacements for Lankins, Mario Villavarayan, good old super. So we had the talent. I suppose just that gelling together was missing. So I love that period of time. And we had some super success during the season, some great wins and great times. But just, I suppose, looking back, I just think it would have been nice for one of those seasons to have clicked. We would have won a flag. That would have been good.
A couple of quick questions. The best player you played with at Preston?
Yeah, look, I reckon talent-wise, I reckon Shane Day was just a fantastic opening batsman. I still remember, pretty sure it was the year that we won the championship. We played the grand final against Ivanhoe, who Ayresy, Sean Ayres, played at Camberwell, left arm quick. He was vicious, swinging the ball back in. And we managed to roll them for 70 or 80, and potentially he could have won it for them. But Daisy got a 50. It was the best innings I've ever seen. So I look, talent-wise, for sure, Daisy. Probably, as we all were back then, we dubbed ourselves the most mentally unstable 11 in sub-district cricket. So we all had our issues, and Daisy had a lot of them. And I reckon if he was a bit more, probably less harsh on himself, I reckon he would have developed into a fantastic player. He played seconds at Northcote at 16 or something like that, opening batting. I reckon batting. Oh, look, you look at him as an opening bat. Gam Pereira was probably the best player. Leg spin, batter, fantastic fielder. Overall during that period, you throw him into a team, you're going to win more than lose. So an out-and-out player, probably him, Gam.
Yeah. Characters. Who was your favourite character over the period? There's probably a few, but you mentioned Jeff King, who I knew as a really young guy, but there would have been a lot of good characters. But who was your favourite?
Yeah, look, initially, I mean, when I first got down there, it's all the older guys, like Chipper, Carpy, they were fantastic, and they just made the club feel, like a proper club. On the field, Joffa was fantastic, taught me a lot. Used to have a go at me every time that I'd throw the last couple of balls. I'd be thinking, I'm just going to get as many runs as I can. And I'd get out and red ink, you've just thrown away the red ink, Oh, okay. So he taught me all about that. But, probably the guys that I really enjoyed their company, and especially up in the grandstand, watching the other guys bat or going out, Shane Day, Weary, Chuck, Brendan Barry, Whitey was a character, Brad Whitefield, Little Angry Ant, you got Brown, Sean Brown, those types of guys. But if I had to nail one down, I think, Daisy was just fantastic. He'd be providing stories on and off the field. He used to throw up every time before he went out to bat. Just he didn't make runs. He'd go through about 3 or 4 bats a season. He'd smash him when just funny situations. Probably such stuff that wouldn't be replicated now. Then I'm sure the committee tried to calm him down a few times, but it didn't quite.
Looking back at your career at Preston, what sticks in your mind the most? What does the club mean to you?
I suppose you're there for so long, it transitions as well, I just loved the environment, being at that the social club downstairs. It was unfortunate you couldn't see out onto the ground, but that was just an environment. You just walk in there and I just have a smile on my face. Just the people, the environment. And I think, look, the committee needs, a shout out over that whole period. It's, had its challenges and it's, kept a fairly successful team over that period of time. It's just a welcoming club. Facilities wise, it's still probably one of the better ones around the competition. The ground itself is always a pleasure to play on. So, and just the people. So I've just loved going down there. The success was what, I suppose, the glue that made everything better. But yeah, I think just the people obviously down there have been fantastic over that whole time. And it's good that, this type of initiative, hopefully I'll be able to get round and talk to guys that were before my time and get to know some of those guys a bit better. So,
what do you do with yourself these days, Kevin?
I'm a fireman. So work, well, we used to be the MFB, but now we're FRV, Fire Rescue Victoria. So that's basically, I've been in there for 5 years. Brother's been in for 30 plus years and sort of was in my ear, was made redundant with insurance. I was working with Sean Harrison and Matty Di Natale at the time, and it's the club's, I've forgotten about that, but the club has a bit of a work cover background to it, with Darren Oliver. He used to get me work when I'd come back to Preston in between going to England and back and forth. So I knew all these guys like H and Dinners, and then they've sort of come down to the club. And so it's, anyway, yeah, but that's the work side of things. But yeah, I was made redundant. And then talking to my brother, he goes, apply for the fire brigade. So I did and managed to get in, which is not an easy feat. So pretty happy with the situation now. And it gives me a bit of freedom working shift work. So I just love it. It's something that I would have, looking at now, would have loved to have been in 20 years ago when I was a bit younger, and just utilising that lifestyle that now it works in with this job. So I'm loving it.
Well, we've spent the last 45 minutes to an hour talking about it. We could go on for hours and hours, and we'll do this again one day down at Kramer Street around the bar. I think that's there'll be some bigger and better stories that will come out of that, I'm sure. So thank you very much for your time, Kevin. That's just absolutely wonderful. All the best.